today is really all about those people and those projects and the efforts that they put into those projects. And I think they've really demonstrated to us so many of the things we've been talking about. We've been talking about having an in-depth understanding of the problems. We've been talking about the importance of local knowledge and the application to resilience. And most of all, I think we've been talking about unleashing the power of local communities and affected communities in innovating, and how powerful that is when it can be supported and unleashed. And I think the projects we've seen today have really typified that and demonstrated it. And we've seen incredible diversity of solutions, from the bamboo dikes to some of the higher tech solutions. If you remember back this morning, we were looking at the virtual reality solution, and then we were looking at the bottleneck life jackets, and all the ideas in between. It's an incredible diversity of projects, and I think for me it typifies what I would call unexpected solutions, the sort of solutions that you get when you invest in communities and you invest in people who really have a deep experience of the problems we're talking about. And so for me, when we talk about how do we continue to support this, I think it's important that we build a movement that is able to support this kind of localized innovation. And for all of us, right? So we all come from organizations in one way or another that work in this sector. And we all come, and we've talked a little bit before about the culture of our organizations and how sometimes we're rooted in practices that are things we're comfortable with, or things that have happened in the ways we've been doing things in the past. And I think what we've seen today is really a challenge to us that there are different ways of doing things that are powerful, and I think really quite motivating for us. And so it really is just a challenge to us all to think about how we can change as organizations. How can we get behind ideas like this and support them? What can your organization do? So if you're an NGO, can you think about partnering with one of these organizations? Can you bring them in and help them? Can you support them? Can you mentor them? Can you bring them into your programs and give them continued support? If you're a government department, can you work with these types of organizations and support them and give them more mentoring and support and help them to grow up and maybe replicate to other communities in your areas? And for private sector, how can you work with these types of organizations too? I think that's the challenge for us. I really think we've seen some powerful ideas. In our experience as the partner who's able to have the experience and the privilege of working with not just the TUKLAS lab, but in labs across a number of countries, we've also seen this super critical power of building networks, the power of innovators to learn from each other, and the power of labs to learn from each other, and the power of being able to connect these types of ideas. And so, again, I would just encourage you all as organizations to think about, how do you get behind these kind of ideas? How do you link them together? How do you grow a community that is able to work on innovation? I wanted to introduce you to a number of our other ideas that have come out of some of the other labs to give you a sense of some of the exciting ideas. I don't want to spend too much time, but let me give you a few examples of some of the things that have come out of the other labs. So in Kenya, we have an entrepreneur who's been working on a platform to sell goats. So it's an online platform. It's a little bit like eBay, but you can go on there and you can buy a goat. And this is extremely disruptive in the sector, because up till now, the way that it would work, if you had a goat in a rural community in Kenya, you'd probably sell that goat to an intermediary, and you probably wouldn't get a lot of money for it. But by creating this online platform, which has proved incredibly popular, then you can actually sell your goat, get a higher margin for it, and it supports your livelihood and helps you to be more resilient. In Jordan, we have seen ideas like a platform that helps people get to work. So that's a little bit like Uber. It's a transportation platform, but it came out of a deep understanding of a problem. The entrepreneurs were working closely with a group of people who had different disabilities, and the people who had those disabilities were having trouble finding employment. And I think when the entrepreneurs first started working with them, they had a theory that the people were not getting employment because employers didn't want to work with people with disabilities, and that was their theory about what the problem was. And as they began to go deeper into that problem and work more closely with those people, they discovered that wasn't the problem at all. Actually, the problem was that those people couldn't get to work because they had no means of transport. And then they sort of started working on problems to that instead of the problem they thought existed. They started on the problem that they found out actually existed. And as a result of that, what they needed to do was invest in a platform that could link people with appropriate transport to people that had that difficulty of getting to work. And so this list goes on and on and on, and I can give you many sort of unexpected solutions to problems that first of all revolves around having a much deeper understanding of the problem, challenging our thinking, and then being able to build a solution to the actual problem. And like I say, I don't want to take too much of your time because I know it's already late. So I'll skip a lot of the list I have and just sort of close with a real encouragement to, as I said before, continue supporting these kind of young and nascent ideas. I believe there's a huge power in the cumulative value. When you put all of these types of ideas together, the impact collectively can be massive. And so I just want to close with an encouragement to all of your organizations to support these guys and also this approach to working.